Hey everybody, it's your boy Pee Wee back with another video. Now today we're going to be talking about a manhwa called Necromancer of a prestigious swordsmanship family. It just started coming out like a day or two ago. Um, Essentially, our main character Archimond is a necromancer who basically was referred to as the devil of the continent. Here you see here. Uh, he had this like plot of a bunch of people died to like some plague. And he felt like the knights and the righteous people were all hypocrites. And basically, a war went on between him and he turned basically all those people that died in the plague into like his necromancy minions, whatever you want to call them. And essentially, he went to war against these people, the righteous knights, and the people who basically saw him as the greatest evil, and basically those who wanted his existence wiped out. He eventually dies at the hands of this duke. I'm pretty sure he's a duke. Um, and so yeah, no, he is a duke. In like the head knight, so to say, of like the group that is after him. But he dies. He gets reincarnated into the baby, into like this baby. When he first wakes up in the baby, though, he like declares, his necromancy incantation from his previous life. So basically, he's suffered a lot of like priest exorcisms and all these like holy baths, and like the priest, saying that Archimond's soul lives in his body. And so, you know, this necromancer wakes up into the body of this child, and we come to find out by the end of like the intro chapter and whatnot, that he was reincarnated uh, as a descendant of the man who ended up killing him, the first duke here. And it's a swordsmanship family. According to the title, the duke was like a master swordsman. So I am curious to see how one he uses the power of necromancy to basically, whether he learns the way of the sword, or if he tries to stick more so with his necromancy powers that he's more comfortable with, or if there's like a mesh of like the two that he basically becomes stronger using both sets of powers, right? Um, you know, I will say, it's a Necromancer comic. I know there is a ton of Necromancer comics out there. However, I am a Necromancer junkie. Anytime there's a Necromancer comic, I do tend to read it, or at least try to read it, simply because I like the whole idea of a Necromancer in general, right? Like minions, or you know just using the dead to become stronger, and just all the different types of stuff that necromancy includes. Like I find it cool. Obviously, if it became like a realistic thing, necromancy, I would not dabble in it whatsoever unless absolutely forced to. But I think reading like a necromancer comic, and just all the things that could be done with the power of necromancy, I always want to see how it gets used and how it is done in a comic. And so I'm curious to see how he uses his necromancy powers, or whether he uses any of his servants or soldiers or summons from his previous life, or if he if he becomes like a master swordsman who can use necromancer powers as well. There's just a lot of possibilities that could happen here that I truly am looking forward to reading and finding out how it goes. I will say the art looks decent. I mean, it's not anything like extremely good. I mean, it is good. Don't get me wrong. Um, but it's not something on like the levels of absolute regression, or absolute dominion. I think that one is. But it is still relatively good. The story, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. It's a Necromancer comic. It's a swordsmanship comic. I'm just curious to see how the plot moves forward, and how the two powers mesh and interact with one another. I know, like I said, I know the market is flooded with Necromancer comics. So if you're not a huge fan of Necromancer comics because it's gotten stale or whatever, I understand it. But as always, I always say read it first before you judge it. Just because it carries like the same tropes or niches or whatever that you might not like or you feel like you have already read too many of. You never know what could happen with these comics. It could be an absolute banger of a comic that completely stands out, or it could just be a flop. But I'm definitely gonna check it out once more chapters are out. And I would suggest reading it too if you're into the swordsmanship, necromancer, fantasy action stuff. But that'll be it for this video. If you guys liked, leave a like, subscribe. I hope to see you guys keep coming back, help me grow my channel. I hope to continue doing this, making these videos, and talking about these comics that I love with all of you. So that'll be it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.